This is Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania. In many ways, it's like any other small town in America, but it's a town with a rich historical background and a unique heritage. It's a community of older homes and buildings that bring a charm and grandeur from another era. Hollidaysburg is by no means just a museum piece. It's a progressive, thriving community, and its people are proud to call Hollidaysburg home. Hollidaysburg had its beginnings back in the mid-1700s when settlers and investors were able to buy land and begin the move westward into central Pennsylvania. Adam and William Holliday traveled the trails to the west in 1756 on a military expedition. In 1768, they returned to the area and staked out claims. As the story goes, when Adam reached the spot that is now the diamond, he refused to go any further and established his claim there. While driving a stake into the ground, he remarked that whoever is alive 100 years from now will see a tolerable-sized town here, and this will be the center of it. By the time the American Revolution began, there were still only a few settlers in Blair County. Practically every able-bodied man participated in the war. Locally, Fort Roberto not only served as a safe haven away from Indians for area residents like the Hollidays, but also protected lead mines, which helped keep the colonial army supplied with bullets. The area of Hollidaysburg remained a farming community through the turn of the century. Highways were little more than bridle paths, thus rapid growth was impossible. By 1814, Hollidaysburg consisted of just a few houses, a store, and a blacksmith shop, but a new era was just around the corner. To the north, the Erie Canal had been completed by 1825, making a direct water route from New York City to the heartland of America. It became clear to state officials that Pennsylvania would be unable to compete commercially if something wasn't done immediately to link Philadelphia to the west. The solution was to build a system of canals and railroads that would link the statewide river system. The real challenge would be getting the canal boats over the Allegheny Mountains between Hollidaysburg and Johnstown. For this task, an ingenious system of inclined planes was engineered. When the first canal boats floated into Hollidaysburg in 1832, the doors of prosperity had opened.
With the decision to have the canal basin here in Hollidaysburg came growth. It became a boom town. Originally, Frankstown was considered for the position as the canal basin, but the people in Frankstown, whoever owned the farmland, his name I've forgotten at the moment, didn't want to sell. He didn't get the price he wanted, is what the rumor is. And so the basin was moved to Hollidaysburg, where the people were more cooperative about selling their land for the purpose. And of course, this meant then that Hollidaysburg became the booming town.
The canal boats were pulled along slowly by horses and mules through the hand-dug canals. The quarters were cramped inside, where the bedboards doubled as tables. Thus, the saying bed and board was popularized. Riding on a canal boat was a unique experience and is best described by these words of an unknown author.
The breakfasts, dinners, and suppers are good, of which the extremes cost 25 cents each and the mean 37.5. The passengers can recreate by walking about on the roof of the cabin at the risk of being decapitated by the bridges, which are passed under at short intervals of time. But this accident does not often happen, for the man at the helm is constantly on the watch to prevent such an unpleasant abridgment of the passengers and gives notice of the approaching danger by crying out, "Bridge!" This machine, with all that it inherits, is dragged through the water at a rate of 3.5 miles per hour by 3 horses driven tandem. The horses are changed once in about 3 hours and seem very much jaded by their work.
Once the boats passed through Hollidaysburg, the new phase of travel began at foot of 10, with a climb up and over the 10 inclined planes. In the early stages of the Portage Railroad, the passengers and cargo had to be offloaded from the canal boats onto rail cars and transported up the mountain. Later, wheels were strapped onto sectional canal boats that were invented by John Dougherty of Hollidaysburg. The Lemon House at the top of the mountain was a convenient stopping place for weary travelers. There they could have refreshments and prepare for the next leg of the trip. The Lemon House still stands today, along with Plane Number 6, monuments to the engineering marvel that helped establish Hollidaysburg as a gateway to western Pennsylvania. In August of 1836, when Hollidaysburg was incorporated as a borough, it was considered one of the most prosperous towns between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. By 1846, when Blair County was formed, Hollidaysburg, its county seat, boasted a population of over 3,000 inhabitants. In 1852, with the completion of the Pennsylvania Railroad to the newly formed town of Altoona and the Horseshoe Curve, the canal and the Portage Railroad lost much of their importance. In Hollidaysburg, the Diamond became the center for retail trade, with Allegheny Street the main avenue of commercial activity. This photo was taken in 1888 along Allegheny Street and shows Julia and Annie Ditting posing in the doorway of the millinery shop. Industries such as McFarland's Foundry, along with Kelly and McClanahan founders and machinists, contributed to the Civil War effort. The high-quality iron shipped from Hollidaysburg was known as the finest in the nation. It was great for making cannons.
Prior to the days of the Battle of Gettysburg, when the Confederates were marching north with Lee as command, and it was suspected that he was headed for this area, and in order to cut off the railroad tracks to help the Southern cause, people in Hollidaysburg prepared for the Confederates to invade, and they hid their valuables. They took their cattle and horses away into the forests, and all the records of the courthouse were carted away so that if the Confederates did capture the town, they wouldn't have possession of the valuables and the records of the county. It was a big scare, yes.
A decade after the war, in 1875, a new courthouse was constructed in beautiful neo-Gothic style, which still stands today. At the turn of the century, a trolley line was constructed between Altoona and Hollidaysburg. In 1903, the Pennsylvania Railroad opened a classification yard and repair shop in the general area of the old canal basin.
And the trolley car was our way to get to Altoona and to the main line of the Pennsylvania Railroad, and that was the only way to get out in the world in those days.
In 1910, the Hollidaysburg Seminary was purchased and rebuilt by J. King McClanahan and became known as Miss Cole's School for Girls.
I went there from all through my schooling, from the first grade to the 12th grade. And when I started, they had perhaps 10 or 12 in what was called the lower school. It was privately owned. It was started by a group of prominent citizens in Hollidaysburg who just wanted better education for their children. In 1915, President Taft came to Highland Hall as a luncheon guest, and the whole school greeted him. It was quite a big event.
After World War I was over, a victory arch was erected on the Diamond in honor of soldiers returning from the war. A huge parade was soon to follow.
I remember as a kid, I got on my bicycle, my brother and my sister and I, and rode downtown, and everybody in town was parading. It was completely impromptu. There were people who had parading even in their bathrobes and slippers.
Today, Hollidaysburg retains a mood reminiscent of the later years of the 19th century. As in most canal towns, the Pennsylvania Canal exists more as a ghost than as a physical reality. The only remaining remnants of the canal are the stones along the banks of the river and a lone switching station that once controlled the level of water in the locks. Hollidaysburg enjoys a historic district status with over 400 significant buildings, some identified with markers that tell when they were built. A walk through town will show how actively the 19th century atmosphere is preserved by the townspeople. Marie Hale, the president of Historic Hollidaysburg, is currently restoring some 1840s-era federal townhouses along Mulberry Street. While this is an extensive restoration project, most of the historic buildings in Hollidaysburg have been preserved rather than restored.
As far as buildings in town that have retained their authenticity and their integrity,
You know, we're really fortunate. These two houses are very fine examples of federal architecture. It was the early stage of our development of the town, and from the research that I've done, you know, these houses are anywhere from 1838 to 1840. I hope 50 years from now it'll be the same. People would say, well, this house has really stood its time, and it has been restored as a federal house. One of the ways to tell a federal-style house is the fact that the door is usually in the center of the building or at the far side, and it has a fan light over the doorway, plus the two side lights. And this house has the columns on either side to decorate the side lights. Top of the house, or the roof line, you have a chimney on either end with a raised tin roof. It's been now tarred, but still that's the way it would have been. And then the 6/6 windows on the second floor. Now you have 6 lights at the top, 6 squares at the bottom. The reason they didn't have big panes of glass is because they didn't have the technology to make them. If I was a traveler on the canal in the 1830s, I would have probably stopped here at the U.S. Hotel. It was a very nice hotel at the time, and it is still in operation today. I would have gotten off over there at the base of the mountain, and then I would have had to bring my bag and baggage and the rest of my family over a number of footbridges to here. And if I was looking for lodging, I could stay here at the U.S. Hotel, or I could go up Montgomery Street to the American Hotel, which is on the Diamond.
The civic group Historic Hollidaysburg encourages you to take a walking tour using their guidebook. It provides you with locations, photos, and descriptions of all the historic buildings in town. For a trip back in time, there's nothing like a carriage ride through the historic district in 100-year-old Surrey. Historic Hollidaysburg, in cooperation with Terry Woodring and a horse named Fred, offers tours leaving from Highland Hall on Sunday afternoons, weather permitting.
Okay, we're going to start out here the mansion tour. On the right here, like I said, this is built in 1896. The judge in the county court system had the house built. The stained glass window there you can see is real pretty. Behind it we have a carriage house. It's now a garage. It was at one time a carriage house with quarters above it for the servant or the carriage driver. Some of the carriage houses are with the homes were used to house the carriage and the horse. If you didn't keep your horse at your house, you would have boarded it at the livery stable. On our left, we have that was built in 1901. The stone that was used to build that house was mined off of Brush Mountain. It's cut limestone. And on our left again is a real different type of architecture for this area. It was built in 1915 by a man. He was an architect. He traveled over to Europe quite a bit, and they feel that he was influenced by the Swiss-German architecture. The builder-engineer of the canal had this home built. It's quite a large house, has a carriage house behind it, and it has hitching posts in front here. And if you look at this tree, it's a bald cypress, which there aren't a lot of bald cypress trees in this area. They're mostly down in the southern states. Here on the right, we have some more nice detailed woodworking that they used to do up in the eaves and around the porch there. The stone that was used to build this courthouse was mined off of Brush Mountain also.
Though the horse and buggy days have passed and the canals have long since been covered up, it's still nice to look back on the unique history of Hollidaysburg. To know that some things like chimney rocks are still the same as when the Indians used them as a lookout. To enjoy a feeling of belonging to the past, yet living in the present. It offers us an understanding of what has happened before us that lets us know who we are now.